It's go time on another edition of the Eye on Life podcast. Thank you for joining us, whether it's your morning, your afternoon, your evening. We appreciate your time. We've talked about how important time is to everyone. There's not really, I feel like Jay Asadi, our guest today, we're going to introduce him in a second, but I feel like time is just like, I feel like there's so much time, but yet there's so little. I don't know. It's strange. It's like you feel like you have all this time, and then it's like 5 o'clock, and you blink, and like, oh, the day's over. It's kind of crazy, but thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Like it, share it, follow us. We want to make sure that we get this podcast out to the masses. Jay, I can live with if somebody listens to us and they hate it. I can live with that. I just can't live with people not knowing that we're at least out there. So anybody, so whatever market you're in, whatever city you're in, please share it with your network of people, and let's have them decide whether they like it or not. So we're in August. So speaking of time, we're already in August. And Jay, there are a lot of August birthdays in my family. A lot of my son just turned 14. My dad's birthday. I have some close friends. And so over the past week or two, I've been thinking about age and aging, right? Which is a very popular topic, right? As we get on, I mean, you're a young guy, obviously, not all of us can pull that off, right? The hat on backwards, I do that now. People think that's, what are you doing? Act your age.
Hey, man.
You can pull it off. I can't. But I was thinking about age, and, we're going to have a show. We're going to do a couple shows at some point here in the near future on faux pas, people, things that you shouldn't be asking people, and also vanity, right? What makes people vain? What's vanity? What's not vanity? How do you define that? And one of the things that came up this week, over the past week, was the whole age thing. And I'm trying to understand it. Maybe you can shed some light for me on this, Jay, because I think people are often at times afraid to ask somebody how old they are. I think that's considered to be taboo to do that.
Right.
You're not supposed to ask somebody how old they are. And I think a lot of people are also hesitant to say how old they are.
Right.
And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I don't really understand it. I'm 45.
Right.
And your age is, it's not like you can't change your age, right?
Right.
If you're a jerk, you can maybe try to be nicer.
Right.
If you feel like you're not smart, you can read you can research things and maybe try to make yourself smarter. There are things that you can change in your life, careers, right? Significant others. You can change these things.
Right.
You can't change age.
Right.
And so I'm wondering Jay, let me ask you, if somebody asks you your age, and I'm not going to ask you because, well, maybe I will, we'll see. Is it uncomfortable for you to say how old you are? And my other question, the other part of that is would you ask somebody how old they are?
It depends on first of all, what the situation is. You know what I'm saying, Brian? Like I said, we have an ability to use our discretion. Now,
right.
Some situations, obviously you want to know somebody's age so you don't get jammed up, right?
Right.
All right then. But then other situations, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Like some people might ask you your age because they're trying to play you. You know what I mean? Or try to downplay because, like I said, first thing that somebody does as far as like we'll go to sports. If somebody's quick to mention somebody's age to try and make it seem like they don't still have it, or that maybe it's time for them to step down, and obviously they still have it. We can't let this age thing play with our minds. I mean, like I said, you want to do a podcast, by all means. You know what I mean? It's your life.
Right.
Use your discretion.
You're spot on. That's actually that's actually a deeper way to look at it. And I don't mean randomly going up to people and saying, how old are you? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're in the presence of people that you're comfortable with and it and it comes up naturally.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't know if it's more acceptable if somebody's younger and they're in their 20s, or if somebody's in their 50s or 60s and they're starting to feel uncomfortable about maybe how they look or anything. Again, it's not a random thing. I'm not saying, people are going to leave the show being like, why the hell does this guy go around asking people how old they are? That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I'm saying if you're having a conversation with someone and they're either a friend or you're getting to know someone, isn't it sometimes, I know it may not matter.
Well, listen, Brian, the chime in what you're saying, I know what you're saying because now you have relevance to what time period. So like if I ask somebody their age or whatever like that, like you say you're 45, hey, I'm close to that. I'm not close to 45. You know what I'm saying? But I know what time frame now that you're talking about. You're a little bit older than me. But if I say, hey man, did you used to watch Dukes of Hazzard or Chips or 8
Right.
or something like that? You know what I'm talking about. Whereas if you talk to somebody that might be 20, they'd be like, you mean the movie? No, man, they used to have a TV show.
Right.
You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Agreed. Yes. And so it sets context for the conversation that you're having.
Exactly.
But that's another thing that drives me crazy, okay? Anybody who watches the show knows there are certain things that drive me crazy. One of the things that I don't understand, and this is an age thing, okay? So I'm actually glad that you kind of brought that up. Dukes of Hazzard, right? I feel like, and I don't want to call out any certain generation. I'm Generation X.
Okay.
Which, whatever that is, it's like I don't know, it's like mid-30s to late 40s, whatever that is, right? Generation X.
Who knows? They put a label on everything.
I don't want to label a specific generation. You know, we talk about, I have said things about millennials before,
right?
And I understand that, but the thing that I don't understand, this is what drives me nuts. And we're going to talk about music with you today, right?
Okay.
And so I want to use music as an example, and TV shows too, because we've talked about on our last show, we talked about interior design, and we talked about some TV shows where we'd love to live in that house that someone lived in on the TV show, right? Even though it's only a studio. But one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts, like almost it angers me, is when somebody says that they don't know about a certain artist, right? Musical artist or show or something simply because of their age. Well, I wasn't around when that show was on. Well, so I don't understand what that means. Like there are plenty of things that happened before I was born,
right,
that I still know about.
Right.
I may not be an expert in it. I may not have watched it live, but I am aware of, that show Bonanza or Mr. Ed, right? Those shows. I wasn't alive for those shows, but I know what they are. My parents watched them probably. So don't tell me. So you should know. Dukes of Hazzard is a perfect example. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you were not alive when that show was on for real, right? Live, not live, but when it was big. You should know Dukes of Hazzard. You should know Different Strokes. You should know The Sopranos. Right. You should know all these shows. It has nothing to do with age, right?
Right.
Because if you're using that rationale, right, about things that are more important, like historical events. Right. Well, I wasn't around during World War II, so I've never heard of that.
Doesn't mean you can't read on it.
You've heard of it.
Yes.
So that's one thing where, and again, this is why sometimes it's important to have the conversation about age. Right. I fully acknowledge. I used to watch Beverly Hills 90210. You remember Beverly Hills?
I didn't watch it, but I knew the show.
Trust me, you're way too cool to watch that show. I was not too cool to watch that show, but they graduated. So that group, even though in the show they were actually much older,
right,
than what they actually were, but they were the class of 1993, which is of high school. So that was
every day. I couldn't have told you that.
Right. So I know that. So I used to be embarrassed about watching that show because I felt like it was something that I don't want, people, Melrose Place, Beverly Hills 90210. And then I got to a point where I'm like, no, it's fine. I love 90210. And when there are reruns on today, I will watch it. And the people of my generation, the 45-year-olds, we're all watching it. We're still watching it.
I watched the newer rendition when obviously with Martise. Because she was watching it. You come in the bedroom, you want to relax. They got the TV on. Your significant other got the TV on. You're not going to argue about changing it. You just enjoy the show. Next thing you know, you watching it too. I mean, it's just so you know what I'm talking.
You're admitting that. I appreciate you admitting that.
Hey, listen, I'm not saying that it's something that I would put on. I like watching Power and Walking Dead. Those are my shows right there.
Good ones. And
so that's me. But I'm not gonna tread on you for your simple pleasures.
Well, I will say, if you're watching the new 90210, watch the old one. It's way better.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's been on. I'm not saying I can't tell you the characters' names or anything like that. But has it been on the television? Yes, it has.
Come on,
I'm not hating on it.
I don't believe you. See, I don't believe you. I think you do know the names, and I think you're watching it even when Martise is not around.
Hey,
So we're using the name. So Martise, by the way, is Jay's wife, and she's been amazing with helping me launch the podcast and distribute the podcast. So if people are wondering who Martise is, that's Jay's significant other. So I'm sorry, say that again.
He's gone down for you. So my single. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. So
we are going to talk down for you, which is amazing. We're going to get to that. So So let's segue into our conversation. So, Jay, and I want to talk about music and age as well, because, I think that oftentimes people think that if you're older, there are certain kinds of music that you can't enjoy, or you shouldn't enjoy. But before, so I want to ask you that before we get to your background, actually,
Okay.
because there is music that is considered to be quote unquote younger,
Right.
like, and it is kind of true, because you'll go to a concert, right? And let's just say that if you go to a One Direction concert, okay, let's just use that as an example.
Right.
You're not the only adults that you're really seeing there are the adults that drove their kids to the concert and are staying there. You're not really seeing a lot of 60 or 70-year-olds at One Direction.
Right.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean there's none. That doesn't mean that they can't enjoy that music. But in your opinion, as an artist, right? And we're going to get into your whole background here, but is music dependent upon how old you are? Or if you're 70, can you be listening to hip hop?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can, right?
My aunt's 76 years old, and she's one of my biggest fans.
But is that because she's your? Now, let me ask you this though: is that because she's your aunt, or is that because she actually likes the music?
No, she actually.
Okay.
Because you can have a relative that makes music, and you be like, you swear too much, or you doing this, I don't like what you do. But my aunt sat there and listened to my music, and said you were able to make a 76-year-old woman cry who does not like rap, cannot stand the shit because the language that's being used. She said, but you wrote a song that made me cry. She said, if you could make a 76-year-old woman cry that can't stand rap, how many other people can you make cry?
Well, that's a good point, and I love that. I love that she's 76 and listening to your music.
Yes,
because I've always believed that music it crosses every generation.
Right.
That doesn't mean you have to like every kind of music from every generation. But the point is that you're not just limited because you're a certain age, right. Which is why I brought that whole age thing up. And I guess
I was going to say, Brian, just to give you this thing. Prime example: who was the baddest man? Michael Jackson. You know why? Because people were rooting for him as a little kid. Then you had grown men sitting there doing ABC, with all that stuff like Dancing Machine, and it was for everybody, and everybody watched him grow.
They did, and the Jackson. And when you look back now, and now you see the quote unquote boy bands, right? And it's funny because the Jackson 5, they were a boy band before anybody really was boy bands, right? I mean, they were kind of the influence, but the talent, and then he became such a megastar. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this question, because we really are going to introduce you at some point, but as we do on every show, my guests are so fascinating, including yourself here, that if I have a question in my head, I have to ask it, because going back to the whole age thing, I might forget it if I don't ask it right now.
Okay, I'm with you.
But so let's use Michael Jackson as an example, right? So we know what happened with Michael Jackson, and the with the kids and the inappropriate, we know what happened there.
The allegations.
The allegations, right? Word. Which nobody, I don't know if it was ever proven, but there were allegations. People stepped up and said yes or no. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to make that decision. I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. We're not making that decision. But and this is really not just music, but it's with everything. But can you, as an artist, right? And we're going to talk about some of your influences. Right. But can you love the artist but not love the person?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, you make it so hard.
Because
I had to close my eyes because that's just such a painful question. You know what I'm saying? It depends on, like I said, I recognize people making mistakes and going through, their ordeals and stuff like that. But yeah, you can love the music and not love the artist, but at the same time, it makes it harder. You know what I mean? We're in a society now where we're living almost like the Romans, where people are in the Colosseum and people, if you mess up, people are giving the thumbs down because they want to stop your career, or they're giving the thumbs up to let you live. We're living in that culture now where everybody's in the Colosseum that is as an entertainer. And if you make one little hiccup or whatever that's at, the crowd screaming, get him out of there, off with his head. They want to execute your career, and that's it. You know what I mean? It's very hard in this society, to really bounce back if you have a fall.
And then there's a court of public opinion, which is oftentimes, I feel like not necessarily legally, but is stronger than the actual legal court. Absolutely. Because people will crucify someone based on what they believe. And I always find that interesting because, you know, I love music. I love sports, pop culture, right? And I always kind of wonder that, like, if somebody does something that is completely, in my opinion, at least, right? It's unethical, it's immoral. They're just a bad person. But let's say I love their music, and maybe some of their actions in life, maybe that's one of the reasons why their music is so powerful to me, because they've been inspired by some of the things that they've gone through. I sort of feel like I can separate the person from their actions. It's sometimes hard. But I'm not hanging out with this person, right? They're not babysitting my kids, right? I'm not inviting over to my family gatherings.
Right.
There's somebody I might listen to. You know, a good example. It's an example that I've used in the past in sports is Tiger Woods, right?
Right.
You know, what he went through when he cheated on his wife and went through all that whole craziness, right? And I still loved him as a golfer.
Right.
And, you know, maybe there were certain parts of that, maybe there's some judgment passed by people, but I still, you know, when he was in the final round, I was still watching him. I think a lot of people were. So I was able to, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm not watching Tiger Woods because I don't really like the way he lives his life.
Right.
Well, how is that my issue? It's not impacting me, right?
And you've never been in the room with him, have you?
No, I have not. Exactly.
You never had a conversation with him. So, you know, I got friends that I don't agree with everything that they do. And these are guys that are close to me. I don't agree with everything. Some of my friends are, you know, they're a little out there, but I know that if I needed them, they're going to be there. And I can, you know, trust them with my family, trust them with that stuff. I don't agree with everything that they do, but I know that I can trust them with my stuff. I've never been in the room with Tiger Woods. It's so easy to condemn somebody because, you know, you don't know the person, and you might just hate the person because they got more money than you. You might just hate the person because they is living a life that you want to live. You know what I mean? Who, you know, like that situation. I don't know all what happened. He might not have been happy in this situation. I don't know. You know, maybe the fame, he didn't have it before. You know, the girl is coming. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't try to judge, like you said.
A lot of times I think that, and we've talked about this on some past shows, a lot of times people don't love to see other people succeed. And I'm wondering, and I'll talk about that with you because you're in the music business and you've had some exposure, and I know you're trying to get even more exposure. And I'm wondering, you know, there's so many haters out there, right? We use that term, haters. And I'm not really sure why that is, because I don't know if it's insecurity or jealousy, a combination, but it seems like when people are successful, famous people, and you even see it on, you know, when somebody gets a new job or somebody's, you know, kid makes a team or whatnot. And it's always like somebody's trying to bring them back down.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. And I feel like it's gotten worse, you know, again, my age, I'm 45. It may have been that way when I was growing up, but I don't remember it being as bad. I don't know if it's technology, social media, but it just seems like it's a lot worse now. People want to constantly take something good that somebody has done and try to bring them down.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's sad. I think that's a sad commentary on where things are at right now.
Crabs in a barrel.
Yeah, I don't understand, but let's get to know you a little bit more here, okay? So we started touching on the music a little bit. Jay Asadi is the president of Dark Mafia Entertainment and a hip hop artist. Is hip hop right? I just want to make sure. Hip hop, rap. You're a hybrid. I feel like.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? Hip hop, rap. That's where I grew up with. That's where I'm at. So
the music industry is brutal from what I know of it, and I'm not pretending to be a record. I'm not pretending to be an executive in the record in the industry, right? But I have friends who have been in the industry. I love music. I read a lot about music, and it just seems like we talk about people bring you back down to size, right? It seems like it's a cutthroat business. It's about timing. There are a lot of artists that are out there, honestly, that you look at them and you're like, how the heck did that person make it big? I don't know what it is, right? Maybe we'll name some of those here. But so you're so Dark Mafia Entertainment, right? Tell us a little bit about that and about how you got into the music industry, because I will say, we've spoken several times now, right? Yeah. And you seem like you're you know, you don't even, it's not seem, you are a nice guy. I can tell you're a nice guy, but it seems like you almost have to be an ass in this industry to get to where you need to go, because there's so many people that are stepping all over, not you per se, but people to get to the top.
Right.
So how did you get into this thing? Why did you decide to do this and try to make it big in this industry?
Because let me tell you something. Music has always been my driving force. Anytime that I've had a situation going on, music. But for me, music was just something like natural, and I loved it. And I wasn't hearing the music that I grew up on or that I liked, and I knew I could make music. So why not?
So when you music is, I always find music to be absolutely intriguing to me, because there's so many different styles, right? It's very subjective. Somebody can go and go to a concert and say, that's the best concert I've ever been to in my entire life. And then you might have somebody and then the other person might say, I would never step foot within 20 miles of where that person is performing because they're so god awful.
Right.
So how challenging does that make it for you, for example? Because there are people that love the music that you do, and you know there are going to be people that just don't like that almost. And I feel like your kind of music is almost one of those things where there's no in between. I feel like a lot of music is like that. You notice that it's very rare that I hear somebody say, that band, they're okay. It's usually like, no, I freaking hate that band. They suck. Or, oh my God, they're amazing. I love that. I love those guys. Right. So how hard does that make it when it's so subjective? In other words, you're trying to write music, lyrics, music that the masses probably are hopefully going to like, because that will be albums for you and everything, but it's so subjective. So how do you, when you write a song, how are you writing that for the masses?
I don't think about it. You know what I mean? I know what I like, and I know what I was raised upon, and there was such a high standard in rap / hip hop when I was growing up. Like, not everybody was a rapper. Like, you were actually nervous coming out in the 90s. I mean, you can listen to like somebody like Jay-Z on the Rock Like Familiar album. And, the first song, he's rapping about, that anxiety of, now your music's about to come out, and, you worried about somebody not liking it or trying to say you're not good enough. I mean, you have that anxiety. But me, I after getting that response, your confidence starts building. You're like, hey, man, I'm on the right track. You just start doing it, man.
That's and I'm glad you brought up Jay-Z, because like you, right? You have Dark Mafia Entertainment, which you're not only a musician, right, but you're also a business guy.
Right. I got my career in business.
Right. Yeah. So you're doing both, and I know that obviously the Jay-Z and a lot of these guys, they've gotten into representation agents and sports and all that. And how does that work for you? So you go into business, you go into music, right? Are you also is your goal also to be a businessman?
Oh yeah.
And a musician? Oh
yeah, absolutely. I'm an artist, because I really don't play any instruments anymore. But I definitely want to. I mean, because it's going to create longevity, but it also gives other people opportunities to be a part of this thing that I'm trying to build. And like I said, everybody's trying to help each other. You know what I mean? So that's the whole purpose.
So we're going to talk about your lyrics in a little bit, because some of them are pretty heavy.
Yes, sir.
And I want to ask you a question, because what I've noticed is that a lot of musical artists, when they get criticized, it's because people are saying that they're not staying true to themselves, right? So in other words, they're writing music, and if they're in the business long enough, there's a good chance that they're, however you look at it, it may evolve or devolve, right? As far as that goes. What's the line? In other words, we talk about Jay-Z and some of these rappers, is it still Puff Daddy? Is he still Puff Daddy, or is he?
Everybody calls him Diddy.
Diddy now, right?
So I respect him a lot too.
Another guy who's done tremendous job with business, right?
Absolutely.
And so he's another guy. And we talked about, you and I talked offline about The Weeknd, a little newer.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great guys. And then we talk about traditional guys, the Beastie Boys, Run DMC.
Right.
Is it Onyx? Is that right?
Onyx, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these DMX.
Yes.
You're impressed that I know all this. I can tell. You're looking.
Yeah, I'm letting them go on. Go ahead. Bro.
I love this. I've always loved rap. I've always there's so many different kinds of rap. And so I want to ask you, how do you stay true to yourself? So when you're writing songs, because I could see, someone like yourself, right? You're writing this, and we're going to talk about being a dark artist, right? Because you've talked about yourself as being a dark artist.
Yeah, because I talk about the emotions, but go on.
And I want to know, and I want to get more into that in a second here. But I could see someone, being dark, and then all of a sudden, now they're starting to write about flowers and romance and things like that, because life changes, right? You're a married guy. You've gone through a lot in life. Maybe when you started writing music, not you, but I'm saying any artist, right? Maybe they were in a bad place and then they're in a good place. So their music will change. So how can you kind of balance that, staying true to yourself, but also evolving your music so people aren't saying, oh, Jay used to write all these really dark songs that meant a lot to me, and now he's writing about love. Right. And I don't get that. Now he's selling out. He's pop now. I mean, how do you toe that line?
I don't, because like right now you have to have a balance. There's a lot of pressure because, like I said, you quick to bring up Jay's married. Well, there's a lot of pressure from that because now you bringing all these people in the mix that now you got to make music because now you got people listening to every little thing that you do, and then you don't want to face I don't want to say you don't want to face the criticism, but then it turns into a discussion about something. I guess that I know what the radio or the mainstream is missing, and there wasn't a lot of love songs, and you still got to have one love song here and there, but still be able to go back and forth as far as dark emotion. I just go off the mood, man. I go off the mood. There's a lot of darkness going on right now as far as in society. We got everybody fighting with everybody. Stuff's getting banned. You got cops killing people. I mean, there's a lot of dark stuff going on, so a lot of people we're looking for that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm looking for that stuff, to get you through that hard time.
So is that so? As far as your inspiration, when you're inspired, right, how does that work? Because I've always wondered when somebody you hear these artists, and I've heard I watch sometimes I'll watch on YouTube. I'll watch Howard Stern, and he has some great interviews with some world famous artists. And they always have these stories about, a song that became big and, I didn't expect it to be big. It took me 5 minutes to write. Right. How does that work for you, the inspiration? Like, are you driving in your car and all of a sudden I have to pull over, I have to write this down? Or are you saying I'm spending 2 hours in the studio today and I'm not coming out of there until I have a song written? How does that inspiration happen?
I have to hear the instrumental. Like if I hear instrumental and it's calling me. It's like, yo, it's do something with me. You know what I mean? So that's what draws me in is the instrumental, the beat, whatever you want to call it. That's what first thing that's going to grab me. It's like I can do something with this because anytime I listen to a beat or instrumental, to me it's like a vault that I want to crack the code. I sit there and listen. And I start turning that knob because I can make some money out of this. So it's like, to me, I'm cracking the code. I'm figuring out how to get that beat.
Is it easy for you then? I mean, when you start writing your music, and again, I want to get to the lyrics in just a few minutes here. Right. You're listening to the Eye on Life podcast. We're with hip hop and business mogul Jay Asadi, president of Dark Mafia Entertainment. And when you sit down, and again, we're talking about how the process kind of works. Do the words kind of flow into your head and then onto the paper and then into the music, or is it because your lyrics are very natural? I listen to a bunch of your music, and we're posting your music on social media, so hopefully some people were able to hear the music before they even listen to the show. But how does that process work for you? Again, does it take you 5 minutes to write a song, or is it like weeks?
No, it don't take no weeks to write a song. I might write a song. I've written, 3 songs in like 48 hours. Because I take my time. I'll go back, keep changing lines, stuff like that. It has to be perfection. Down For You, I wrote in 45 minutes. Whereas Undefeated, that took me 3 days just to write the hook. The verses was done, but for me, the song had to be perfect. You know what I mean? So it took, it depends on the song. It depends on what I want to do with it.
So now that we're talking about your lyrics.
Yes.
And I do want to ask you we talked before about, cursing in music, right? And how your 76-year-old aunt is listening to you, drop the F-bomb and whatever. Right. And And I know, I remember when I was actually, again, when I was younger, and I've always been a big fan of heavy metal music.
Okay.
I love heavy metal, even now. And I'll listen to it in the car, and my kids are like, "What the heck are you listening to? I mean, this is awful." Because they're screaming and they're talking about death and dying, and
Right.
it's just I like the anger. I don't know why. I always have. But I remember back when I was growing up, and I don't remember the PMRC, which I'm trying to remember the acronym now, with Tipper Gore, and they were and there was a lot of heavy metal music that government and these religious groups were saying, oh, they're cursing and they're talking about death, and now all these kids are going to kill themselves because they're listening to Ozzy Osbourne, or they're listening to Megadeth, and they're talking about death and dying. And I guess if you're already on the edge, there's a chance that music could kind of influence that kind of activity. I mean, I listened to a lot of music that talked about death and killing yourself, and I never felt inspired to kill myself.
Right.
And I understand that maybe some people they get possessed by the music, whatever that is. But my question to you, and I think we're in a different time now. People aren't necessarily concerned about cursing in music. But here's my question. I've always kind of wondered this, because I actually think that cursing in music, if there's not cursing, I don't miss it. But if there is cursing, it doesn't bother me. What does the cursing in music actually? What does it mean? Is it just natural? Is it supposed to have a affect? Is it supposed to shock people? Is it just the vernacular that you happen to be using? Maybe it's vernacular that you use in everyday life. I mean, how does dropping the F-bomb in a song make or break that song?
I mean, it depends on the context. Like me, when I use the F-bomb, as we're going to call it the F-bomb, it's your show, I'm capturing my emotion at that time. You know what I mean? For me, it's just an expression. You know what I mean? I use it everyday vernacular, like you said. Other people, that's just every other word comes out their mouth. You know what I mean? And people that don't see a problem with, they're going to like that music. I don't have a problem with their songs that I listen to that, like you said, it's just a straight F-bomb stuff, but that might be my emotion for the day. That might be what I'm really feeling right now. I can't, I can't speak on that. I can only speak for me. When I use the word, I'm using it to capture an emotion.
Do people judge? I mean, it's been a while, and again, it depends on probably your background and your maybe religion. To me, that's part of the music. That's part of the art. If it's forced, I guess maybe, okay, what's the point? But if it's just the emotion of writing the song, I don't understand why the curse words are so taboo. And if you don't want your kids listening to it, I get that. So just don't listen to it in front of your kids. And I want to just go, we talk about, and I don't think that these particular verses that you sent me here don't necessarily have any curse words in them. But I would still read them if they did. But I didn't memorize these, so I am looking over to read them. But I want you to kind of analyze this for me, because I want to get into the dark part of your music.
Okay.
And when I was listening to your music, preparing for the show, it was deep, and it was I felt a lot of your emotion. I felt anger. I felt passion. I felt maybe some sadness. I'm not saying this in a judgmental way. I'm saying this is what I heard in the lyrics. So let me read this to you. And when you were writing this, because we're talking about your lyrics now, and I'd love to have you perform on the show sometime. We'll do that. We'll have you back. Okay. But I want to read this so everyone can hear it. And then I want you to tell me where your head was at while you were writing this song. So the song is called Undefeated. And this is a more recent one. Is this a more recent one?
Well, it was off my first EP. I got a new version coming out. I can't wait. You guys are going to love it.
Okay, so Undefeated. And so here are the lyrics, okay? I won't sing it, trust me. Nobody wants to hear that.
Hey, go ahead.
Angel, I wouldn't even know where to start, trust me. And trust me, I wouldn't do it justice because these are deep, all right? So, angels, demons want my soul. Promised land, where did it go? All I see is broken pieces, broken home, and open roads. From that concrete grew a rose. How I made it, no one knows. Guess when you come up without the love, you learn to like the cold.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's powerful right there. Okay, I'm getting shivers just saying it, and I'm reading. I should have had you read it. Actually, now I'm thinking about it here. I should have had you read it because
I loved how you did it. Keep going.
It doesn't have the same effect when I'm saying it, but so I need to know, and I need our listeners and our viewers to know when you were writing this song. Okay, there seems to be a lot going on in your head here.
Oh yeah.
And I would love to jump into your head and understand this even more.
Hey, come on.
This is real. So let's get into your head. This is one of your bigger songs, right? So those lyrics, talk about what those mean.
I was talking about America.
Okay, so that's America right there.
Yeah, I'm saying promised land, we're there to go. You know what I mean? Like, this is supposed to be the greatest nation on earth. But yet, look at all the stuff that's going on right here. Look at all the broken homes. Look at the broken system. So much stuff is broke right now that the American dream has even become broken. Like you said, you got people that actually want to keep you from rising to the top. When instead of them trying to rise to the top, because that's the American dream, that people are actually profiting and feel like they're getting prospered by trying to hold people down. I got dreams too. If your life is a nightmare, I have nothing to do with that. But that doesn't mean my life has to be a nightmare.
Right.
You know, I got American dreams too, damn it. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about America. Angel Demons with my soul. Man, I'm trying to do the right thing, but then the way, you know, life is, sometimes can make you, you know, do some other stuff. You know
sure. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the surface, and the thing that I love about your lyrics is that it makes me, as the listener, want to go a little bit deeper than just the surface. So for example, if I just, and I probably looked this over probably a dozen times to see what you were trying to say. And they may have, these lyrics may actually have different meaning on different days, I'm guessing, probably, even for you. And so the first time when I first saw it, I was like, holy crap, like all hope is lost. It's like, it was almost like depression. Like I need therapy after listening to this, right? Although, as I read it more, I'm like, wait a second, I don't need therapy. This actually is therapy almost. And then I started seeing hope. These lyrics are actually, there's hope in these lyrics. Like, you're not just talking about the bad, you're talking about maybe hope as well. And again, I'm not telling you to necessarily tell me how I should feel with this, because everybody, you know, 100 people are going to interpret these lyrics differently, right? But when you talk about America and the American dream, and let's dive into this a bit now, right? Race and politics, and I promise we're not going to get into deep politics on the show, but you know, you're obviously inspired by what's happening right now,
right?
And it is a scary time to be growing up. It's a scary time to be an adult. We have COVID going on. We have race and ethical issues. We have government issues. We have global issues, right? More than what I've ever experienced as a 45-year-old man. So how much does what's happening in society play into your feeling, your anger, your passion, your hope when you're writing, not just this song, not just Undefeated, but any song that you're writing? Because I'm sure you're going to write plenty more that have to do with the subject.
I mean, it going through it for so long, since I was a child, you know what I mean? I was a little kid, 4 years old, and a car full of white college students rolled by and called me a nigger. Now, these are supposed to be kids that's getting the education. They're supposed to be educated, but yet they use one of the most ignorant words of all time,
right?
Just because I'm black. You know what I mean? So I've been going through it my whole life. I was hoping that maybe I could bring some awareness or consciousness, because when you listen to the music, you get to actually listen, and you're not cutting me off unless you turn me off. There's no arguing now. You might argue after the song, but now you finally get to listen. You know what I mean? And that's all I was trying to do. What could be? That's all we're going for. What could be?
So when you're writing your music, and there's a lot of ignorance out there, right now, and I'm not making a blanket statement. Obviously, not everyone is ignorant. There are plenty of smart people that, you know, are educated. Well, just because you're educated doesn't mean you're not ignorant. You can be educated and ignorant. But there are people who believe in equality. You know, plenty of people that believe in equality. They're good people. But to your point, that car full of white males and all these things that are going on today, and you can go on Facebook or YouTube or anything and see clips of horrific actions that people, and not even always actions, just words. Can your music and music in general not only be a form of entertainment, but can it also be a form of education?
Yeah.
How so?
I mean, because like I said, when you're able to get a 76-year-old woman who does not like rap, can't stand the shit, and make her cry and say that was beautiful, And then she said, "You got me thinking." I had my friend, she the one that actually made my shirt. You know what I mean? I got custom made shirts coming out. She sat there and said, "When I listened to your song Looking Glass, which I'll be re-releasing, she said, I felt like you was talking to me. Oh, wait a minute, you're talking about me now." And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that my music was having that kind of effect on people. Like, I'm watching people cry. I'm telling people like, damn, you had me thinking about some stuff. And I was like, I was just trying to, get it out of me. And I didn't think it was going to be so. I knew it could be big, but until it actually starts happening, it's surreal.
Is music for you, right? Is music for you kind of a form of therapy, for lack of a better word? And I say therapy in quotes, not literally. But there are a lot of times where I feel angry in life. There are things that happen in life where you just feel angry. And sometimes I feel like I could go write a really good heavy metal song, anger and aggression, right? I go for a jog instead or work out or whatever. But do you feel like it's something for you that it's you're a lot of music, a lot of lyrics, especially for you and for a lot of artists, it's about personal issues?
Brian, music saved my life. You know what I mean? Music saved my life. I can't even tell you how much it did, but yeah, for me, it's therapeutic. I had so much going on inside here and here that, I was able to finally get it out and be proud of it. You know what I mean? Whether because sometimes you might black out, and I've destroyed things, you know what I mean? Because you just let stuff build up. I'm one of the guys that let stuff build up. And when stuff builds out, Incredible Hulk comes out. And you turn around like, man, what did I just do? So for me now, when I get angry, now I'm able to just kill you in a song. I don't have to kill you in real life. I can just kill you in a song. You know what I mean? Or I can honor you in a song. However I want to do it, gives you got free reign when you get an instrumental.
So I'm making a note here. I don't have a pen. I have to get a pen here. Note to self: don't ask Jay Asadi any questions that are going to piss him off. No, I'm joking. But you do. So the other thing about I will say about some of your lyrics, and I want to go into this a little bit more, because you did just say something extremely important to this conversation, and you said music saved your life.
Yes, it
did. And so I did mention that there does seem to be some anger in your music, which makes it that much more, I think, powerful, right? And you have described yourself in the past as a dark artist.
Right.
And I want to know exactly what that means. I want our listeners to know what does it mean to be a dark artist? And I assume that probably has a tie to how music may have saved your life.
I came out of hell. I mean, I was growing up in a living hell. My life has been a lot of times a living hell. So when I sit there and say I'm a dark artist, it's like I'm coming out of hell. Not saying that I'm a satanic or anything like that, or I worship the devil. Listen, I ain't say all that. I'm just saying where I'm coming from. I'm a dark artist. I'm gonna talk about some stuff that you're not normally gonna be listening to. Everybody else is talking about money and girls and stuff like that, and that's all fine and dandy. Who doesn't enjoy those things? But we also got to talk about depression. We got to talk about heartache. We got to talk about pain, because I know you feel those things too.
Well, we all do, right? We all feel that. And music. So it sounds like maybe music has been your outlet.
Yeah.
Which is, and when you say it saved your life, is that what you mean? That it's been an outlet for you to kind of express some of those emotions and maybe put your energy towards the positive versus negative?
Yeah, I mean, I've been depressed. I mean, I suffer from depression now. You know what I mean? I go see a therapist for depression. I ain't scared to say that. I got a nice team. You know what I mean? Because I'm a veteran. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. So, I can get help from the VA, to help me deal with stuff that I went through. I'm not ashamed to say that. You know what I mean? Who doesn't need help?
Well, everyone needs help. And it actually makes you a stronger person for acknowledging it. And also, I have to say, and thank you for your service. And I mean, so that's a whole separate issue. We could talk about your service. We're not going to go there necessarily. We're talking about Jay Asadi, business mogul, hip hop artist. I do have to dig a little bit deeper because you threw a few things out there, and you said you were in hell.
Yeah.
And we talked, and I want to just be very respectful of you, and I want everybody who's listening or watching the show to know that you and I did talk before the show, and I did ask you if there was anything to you that was off limits, and and you can always ask a question, and somebody can say, "I prefer not to answer that," and I'm always respectful of that. You see these clips on.
I plead the fifth, man.
You can play the fifth on anything you want, but what did if you could just, if you wouldn't mind, and again, get as graphic as you want here, what was hell for you? Because it's all relative, right? Some people, oh hell, I had a lousy dinner the other night. That was hell, right? I mean, or some hell is actually like legitimate hell, health problems, loved ones, abuse. There are plenty of things in life right now that can be considered hell, but it's your own hell, right? How you perceive it and how you see it. But it sounds like you actually may have legitimately been in some kind of hell. What was that hell, and how did music help you dig yourself out of it?
I mean, it was like I said, growing up in what now when growing up, you didn't know it was an abusive household. And I'm not trying to sit there and bash my parents, because like now I know that I'm an only child, so they was doing the best they could do, their best job. Being in prison, going through racist situations. I got kidnapped off a playground when I was like 11 or 12 years old by a group of white men. You know what I'm saying? Didn't get no justice for that. I mean, there's just so many different things throughout my life that I've had to hold on to. That I was tired of being. You talking about heavy metal. One of my favorite songs was Metallica, "Unforgiven." I love that song, but I got tired of being the whipping boy. I got tired of being that whipping boy done wrong. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you finally say, you know what? No more. I'm fighting back, and that's what you just got to do. You know what I mean? That to me it was just me fighting back, trying to break free of those mental chains and those psychological chains that you have on you, those invisible chains that hold on to your past. I was just trying to break them.
And you mentioned, and again, I know we talked about this offline as well, but you did mention prison.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this, and I'm sorry, I actually did forget which song it was. But there was one song where you do talk about gang. You talk about, I don't know if it was being in a gang, but gangs are referenced in one of your songs.
Right. That was the Ballad of Negan.
Right. Okay. So were you in it? Were you in a gang?
I mean, I had affiliations. You know what I'm saying? Like I definitely, I got down. You know what I mean? Things got shut down later on down the road. You know what I mean? I still got love for everybody. They got love for me. It wasn't something that I was trying to promote as far as a negative thing, but you got to understand there's some good brothers that, that bang. When New Orleans had Hurricane Katrina, guess what? When people got left in the thing, it was the quote unquote thugs and gangbangers that was running around getting prescriptions and pharmaceuticals and stuff to make sure their community was all right. So I don't sit there and try to bash people, this, that, or third. I made a decision at one time, you know what I mean? And for me, it was, I was lost. You know what I mean? And somebody saw some potential in me, took me under their wing and was trying to, build me up. You know what I mean? So I don't sit there and bash nothing. It's nothing but love, and that's it.
So you served the country.
Yes, sir.
You said you were incarcerated, right?
Yes,
You suffered some suffered's not the right word, but you experienced abuse of some sort. We're not going to get into all that, but how is that? So now, okay, let's fast forward to now, and you have a musical career now. You have a family, right? So, and you have a young son.
Yep.
And so how is going through? I mean, everything I guess that happens in life. It sounds cliche, but it really is true. It shapes who you are. At the end of the day, right? And how has it shaped you being a musician? Everything that you've gone through. How has it shaped you being a musician, a husband, a father, a friend?
Yeah.
How has it all kind of shaped? Because as I said, you seem like a fairly happy guy, whereas I could see being very resentful about some of the things that maybe you've gone through in your life.
Right.
But how has everything kind of shaped who you are right now?
I think definitely having my son, watching him develop, then watching my aunt, I was mentioning she has pancreatic cancer. And I don't know if you ever watched anybody suffer from cancer or that's battling cancer. That has an effect on you to watch somebody suffer, because it's not, something as simple, because pancreatic cancer, you can't eat solid foods no more. So I'm watching, I get some food, baby, let me just smell it. She just wants to smell the plate because she can't eat it. If that don't rip at your heart to watch somebody that you admired and adored your whole life, and now can't even share a meal with you, so that you have an appreciation on life, there's something fucking wrong with you. Excuse my French, but I gotta take that to heart. Mm-hmm. There's something wrong with you. I appreciate life so much more now, even though I still struggle with but those little things like that, just eating, being with your friends, waking up in the morning. You gotta appreciate that stuff, man. You know what I mean? I guarantee you, like I said, man, there's a song by Otis Redding called Just One More Day. You know what I mean? And you would love, there's people that you miss right now that you would just love to have just one more day with them. Just to hear that laugh one more time, maybe taste that food, stuff like that. So my whole perception, I just appreciate life so much more now.
Well, my prayers out to her. And, we're getting, as we're in the show, it's you do talk about loved ones, and I know we're talking about music. I'm not trying to be a downer here. My uncle just went through some open heart surgery, and a former boss of mine who I was close with was just passed away after being hit by a car. And it's just, you're right. It's day by day, one step at a time. And my prayers to your aunt, and and to you for supporting her. I could keep you all day here. I'm not going to do that, but I do want to kind of wrap things up a little bit with music. Okay. We've talked a lot about music, and we've talked a lot about life here. Yes, and now you're based near Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir. Greater
Pittsburgh. And so how do you utilize this Pittsburgh? Does Pittsburgh have a scene that you can sort of become part of to build your brand, to build your music? And I know you spent time in Cleveland as well. I know you've had several shows. How can you kind of place yourself and brand yourself in that Pittsburgh scene to maybe give yourself, because Pittsburgh is a big market, to market yourself more on a national and international level as well?
I think it's a great platform or foundation, but watching, looking at other artists, they end up leaving, you know what I mean? Because there's more opportunities elsewhere, but you're still holding it down. You know what I mean? It's to me, it's a great foundation, but there's a lot of movies coming to Pittsburgh. So maybe things might change. I don't know. Right now, I know it's been more than a blessing, the response and the reception that I have. I don't know what the future holds. Right now, I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest with you, Brian. People are telling me, hey, man, you're not going to thrive here the way that you want to thrive. In your mind, it's like, I want to, but then again, I'm looking at where everybody else went, and they might be right. I would like to say I'll be the first one. You want to try to be the first of anything, as far as that goes, to be unprecedented. But then again, I don't know. I don't have the answers. You don't want to believe it, but then you might have to accept it.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up, because I think a lot of it can depend on your geographic location. So, we talked a little bit earlier in the show about making it in this business. Which I, from what I've seen and what I've gathered, it is absolutely almost impossible. It's like sports, it's trying to become a professional baseball player. It's like below 1%, right? So, but as I said, we have seen artists that they make it, and you're like, they must have a great agent, an amazing marketing team, because I don't know how they made it. But for you, and you've talked about a lot of things today, your lyrics, and you're doing this obviously to make a living. But you're also doing it because your heart's in it, and it's good for you, and it's good for your family, and there's a lot of inspiration behind it. But ultimately, for you, what are your aspirations? Do you want to become the next Jay-Z? Do you see this maybe being something that, you're a world-class musician? I mean, you are a world-class musician right now, but being more exposed on an international level. What are your aspirations as a musician and a business person right now?
I would like to be. I would love I can't say I'm gonna be the next Jay-Z. There's only one Jay-Z. I mean, Hov got his own right. I would like to say he inspired me to be the best version of myself. As far as I just want to be remembered. I want to be financially, set, and I want to be, you want your music appreciated. You want to be remembered for the contribution, because you're not gonna do this forever. You're gonna eventually retire, and hopefully, live to be a bright old age. Or ripe old age, as they call it. But
I'm closer than you are.
Yeah, you that's all right though. You put some stuff on, you had me talk about some stuff in my head. I'm like, whoa. But I mean, definitely you wanna have longevity, man. You wanna be remembered. You wanna be appreciated for your music, and you wanna live well. I mean, why not?
When people listen to your music, your fans,
Yes, sir.
what do you want them to take with them when they're listening? As we said, music is just so fascinating because everybody takes something different with them when they hear a song. There are people love something that somebody else might absolutely despise, right? So when someone listens to your music, ultimately, how do you want them to feel? What's your goal and how they feel after they've heard Undefeated?
Lauryn Hill. I love Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill's great.
She made a song and she said, "Music is made to inspire. It's meant to inspire. Come on, baby, light my fire." So I hope that I was able to light your fire, and I hope I was able to inspire you, because that's all music is supposed to do. Music is supposed to inspire something. That's it.
That's in today's world. That's a lot. Inspiration, right? And I just need to ask you as we start to wrap up here. And I do have one more question I want to ask you, but before I ask you the final question, before I forget, you're out there, right? So people want to hear your music; they can hear it. And let me just say this right now, okay? And I'm looking to build the podcast here, but what I say is not necessarily, hopefully there's some credibility with what I'm saying. But I am looking at the viewers and those who are listening. You have to check this guy out, Jay Asadi. Okay, if you love music, and I'm not even saying that this has to be your style of music. Okay, you may say, I'm not listening to this. I don't like hip hop. Listen to it. I don't want to listen to this because I'm not a big musical fan. Listen to it. It will make you think. Okay, I guarantee it's going to make you think. And at the very least, it's going to make you think. And at the most, you may actually have a new artist that you're listening to. Where can people find your music out there? Spotify, iTunes. Where can people find Jay Asadi if they want to hear you?
Brian, first of all, thank you for that endorsement. I mean, now, if I was running for president, you'd be running me. So
I was inspired by the music.
Yes, sir.
I was. I mean, it's deep. And again, I'm not a record executive, but I know what's good. I'm public. And honestly, right, you don't have to be a record executive to know good music. In fact, the record executives, I believe, aren't really necessarily listening to all the music after it's edited and aired and all that. It's the people that are listening to the music. So the people are the ones buying the albums. Yes. So I'm Joe Public here, yes, and I'm telling you to listen to Jay Asadi. You have to do it. That's my action item of the day. Listen to it, please. It's inspiring. But where can they find it?
I'm streaming everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, Tidal, Apple, iTunes, whatever. I mean, I'm everywhere. I look for distribution platforms that's going to try and get me the most exposure. So all you got to do is Google the name. I'm on Google Play. I'm everywhere. You know what I mean? Streaming everywhere.
I'm going to say this, Jay, right now.
Yes, sir.
I'm very passionate about this.
Yes, sir.
If anybody listens to your music and is not inspired and does not enjoy it, I want you to send me an email. I want you to send me an email even if you do like it. But if you really don't like it, if you feel that I have wasted your time, right? I will jog without a shirt on. We talked about this. You know this. I will jog 3 miles with no shirt on if somebody comes to me and says they don't like the music. And Jay, you know how I feel about that.
Yes, sir. I haven't heard anybody sit there and say they don't like the music. I have not one person yet. So to me, that's a good sign. I don't know, the streams don't, but whatever.
Listen to the music, and if you don't like it or you do like it, get in touch with Jay here or email me, Brian@ionlifepodcast.com. If you don't like it, I want to know why. Okay, because I'm on I have these movements. I have these crazy movements, and I'm ready to put you in that bucket. But I don't think that's going to be a problem because people are going to like the music. They're going to love the lyrics. And I need to ask you this because where are you performing now? I know there's a lot of funkiness now with being out there with COVID and everything like that, but it seems like things are starting to open up a little bit more. Are you out there performing? Are there places where people can see you live? Because I want to see you live.
Listen, I'm about to do a live stream. I've never done a live stream before because you gotta adapt and overcome, as we say in the Marine Corps. COVID-19 came out of nowhere. I was trying to go to some festivals and events this year to try and network, like you said, to get my name out there. My whole intent is to try and do a live stream performance until I can find, some venues to, start getting this thing going. Because I need to improve. I want to give you guys the best show possible. So I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean? Tell me how to improve. That's it.
Well, when you do that live stream, let me know about it. I'm going to promote it through my social media channels. I want the world to know about you, because we don't want you to be the best kept secret around. And my final question here is that I know you have performed in the past, and we talked a lot about your lyrics and when you're in the studio. But what kind of feeling is it? And I had a buddy of mine from high school. We talked about his cover band up in Saratoga Springs, New York, and I asked him the same question about performing live. And as somebody who's not a music person, right? I listen to it, but I've never been a performer. I've always thought that, hitting a home run would be amazing in a baseball game, right? Professional baseball game, or kicking the winning field goal in a football game or something like that. But I can't imagine most things in life being more euphoric than performing. I don't care if it's a stadium full of people or a nightclub with 20 people. I can't imagine anything being more of a high than performing live. How has that been for you? Where have you? Is there any specific venue that you performed in that just you walked away and you're like, man, that was unbelievable. I cannot wait to do that again.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now, and I loved it. I did a tailgate party down in Pittsburgh. That was fun, and then I did a show at the Smiling Moose in Pittsburgh, which was fun. But before I started rapping, I was in an R&B group, and we did a show over in Japan, and this DJ put on this mix, but we had the whole crowd moving. I never seen nothing like this before, but it was such a euphoric feeling, like you said, to watch people just move and sync and like almost mirror your movements because they were just so in tune. You guys were on the same wavelength. That to me was something I want to try and capture every time, just to have that response back where we're all on the same wave. We're on the same wavelength now. The energy level is way up here.
You have one venue to choose. What are you choosing? Where do you want to perform? What's the pinnacle of your career? Where is it?
Oh man. I would say the Super Bowl, man.
Perfect. That's a great answer. Love it.
The Super Bowl to me is like, I just remember, just watching the artists come out. Like Prince, to me, that's my favorite Super Bowl. Rest in peace to Prince.
He was amazing.
He had that Purple Rain just coming down when he was singing Purple Rain. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, man. He was sitting there singing in the Purple Rain. I don't know, man. That's it.
Well, I'm going to say when you perform at the Super Bowl. I'm not saying if. We're saying when.
We got some years to go.
Just remember the interview. And if the Giants are playing in the Super Bowl, please, I need tickets. I'll pay for them. I just need tickets. Hey, man, you're awesome. I really enjoy learning more about you. Again, I'd love to have you on again at some point.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot. This was a long show, and there's a lot that I did not cover. Yeah. But when we talk about the eye on life, this kind of conversation that we had with you today is the epitome of the kind of conversations that I want to have on this show. We talked about music, we talked about life, we talked about family, we talked about entertainment, and that's really what it's all about. So, again, one more time, where can people find you on Facebook and anywhere else? Where can they find you?
Listen, I got a Jay Asadi fan page on Facebook. On Twitter, you can find me at Jay Asadi. That's JASADI 20, the number 20. That's on Twitter. And in Instagram, you can find me Jay Asadi. It's all one word, 100, 100. You know what I mean? Authentic. That's it.
Find this
Jay Asadi 100, man.
Find him, follow him. And when they're doing that, follow I have to, the plug for the Eye on Life podcast. Follow both of us because I think we're both good guys.
Yes, absolutely.
They're going to listen to you more than they listen to me. But thanks so much for being with us. I want to thank Jay Asadi, Dark Mafia Entertainment, LLC, hip hop mogul. It was a fascinating conversation. And I can tell you after this conversation, between now and the next show, we're all keeping an eye on life. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Brian.
Hey, that was amazing.
Okay, thank you. Listen, I didn't know what to do. I loved it. Thank you, man. If I can help your show out, and I did.
You did. I really do want to get you back on again as you progress because we're going to do a follow-up show. There's a lot going on with you, so I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, like I said, when you gave that endorsement, I was just like, man, this guy, he should be like my campaign man.
I'm not kidding because these lyrics are unbelievable. I love it. I'm going to keep listening to you. I really am. You have my support, and when you're touring, I'm coming.
Okay, well, listen, the shows are gonna get better. I promise you that.
They're awesome. But let's keep in touch and tell Martisa I said hi. I'm sure I'll be in touch with her. But thank you. And again, regards to your family. Enjoy being a father. I bet you're amazing at it, and I appreciate your time. All right, brother. Take care.